What is more dangerous to a man, the sword aimed at his chest, or the secret he never sees until it is too late? Power is not taken in the open. It is built in silence, behind masks, hidden beneath gestures meant to mislead. Men believe what they see, yet what they see is seldom the truth. The wise conceal their designs, letting others mistake shadows for substance while the true plan unfolds unseen. To understand this principle is to hold dominion over those who trust their eyes, but to master it. That is to walk the forbidden path of rulers. Do you dare step closer? When a man seeks power, he must learn the art of concealment, for no empire is built upon open declarations of ambition. To reveal the entirety of your intent is to arm others with the means to sabotage it. Human beings are predictable in one regard. They fear what they do not understand and move to destroy it before it grows too large to control. If you speak too plainly of your desires, you summon resistance long before you are strong enough to overcome it. But if you veil your aim beneath gestures of loyalty, of harmlessness, even of weakness, then suspicion falls elsewhere while you advance quietly. Consider that men are ruled not by truth, but by the illusions they accept as truth. If you wish to seize authority, you must allow others to believe they see through you, when in fact they see only what you permit. Let them think you are predictable. Let them believe you are limited in ambition, and they will cease to watch you closely. In their neglect, you find the space to act. To play the fool while crafting a crown is not weakness, but the highest cunning. Yet concealment is not merely silence. It is the skill of diversion. A hunter does not stand in the open and declare where he will strike. He distracts his prey with sound in one place while his arrow falls from another. So it is with power. A word spoken about trivial matters, a gesture of false concern, or even a calculated mistake. All these are tools of misdirection that make your true design invisible. The wise man knows that honesty, when deployed at the right moment, is the greatest disguise of all. For men assume that one who speaks truth once must always speak it. You must understand that the masses crave simple narratives. If you offer them one, they will not search for the deeper story. They will believe your mask, defend it, and even fight for it. Behind that mask, however, you must cultivate your real ambition, untouched and unexposed. This dual existence, one face for the world and another for yourself, is not hypocrisy, but necessity. A ruler who bears his soul invites attack. A ruler who wears masks commands the stage without ever showing the hand that moves the strings. Therefore, the path to power is not announced. It is hidden in plain sight, unfolding under the cover of appearances. Your intentions must be as the roots of a tree, invisible beneath the soil, yet spreading wide and deep until no man can pull them free. To succeed, you must master the art of seeming open while remaining closed, of showing light while moving in darkness, of allowing others to believe they know you when in truth they do not. Power does not belong to the honest, it belongs to the concealed. Men are easily deceived because they rarely seek truth. Instead, they hunger for what they can see and what they can be made believe. Reality in itself is fragile, for it is shaped not by what exists, but by what others perceive to exist. A man may be strong, yet if he appears weak, he is treated as powerless. Another may be hollow and frail, yet if he projects the image of strength, men kneel before him. Thus, the mastery of perception is greater than the mastery of reality itself, for reality is often hidden, but perception is what governs human behavior. You must recognize that the crowd is led by appearances as sheep are guided by a shepherd. They do not follow truth. They follow the image of truth. And so, If you wish to rise, do not simply achieve. Make it visible. Do not merely possess power. Make it appear inevitable. A reputation forged in spectacle outweighs silent achievement, for men remember what dazzles them, not what quietly sustains them. The eye is easily conquered, and once the eye is conquered, the mind surrenders without resistance. It is not necessary to be virtuous. It is enough to appear so. It is not essential to be merciful. It is sufficient that men believe you capable of mercy. It is not even required that you be strong, only that others fear testing your strength. Men act not upon the hidden truth of your nature, but upon the perception they are given. That perception is the leash by which you control them, the veil that hides your weaknesses, and the mirror that reflects back an image more powerful than you may truly be. Yet you must never confuse the mask with the man. To believe too deeply in your own illusion is to fall into ruin, for reality eventually asserts itself. The purpose of perception is not to blind yourself, but to blind others. Let your eyes remain clear while theirs are clouded. Behind the scenes, you must know the limits of your strength, the vulnerabilities of your position, and the enemies who wait in silence. But before the world, you must project certainty, inevitability, and command. Understand that perception must be managed as one manages fire. Feed it too little, and it dies. Feed it too much, and it consumes you. Let the flames glow bright enough to be seen from afar, yet never burn out of control. Give them stories, gestures, and symbols that reinforce the image you desire. Men are simple in this. They do not seek depth, only what shines on the surface. Provide them with that surface, and they will not question the foundation upon which it stands. In the end, the ruler who governs appearances governs men themselves. For while reality is the ground upon which we walk, perception is the air that all must breathe. And it is the air, not the ground, that suffocates or sustains life. There is a grave error in believing that only strength commands respect and shapes destiny. In truth, power is not the absence of weakness, but the mastery of it. Every flaw, every vulnerability, every imperfection can be transformed into a weapon if you have the cunning to wield it. Men often underestimate what seems fragile, and therein lies your advantage. For when they dismiss you, when they imagine you harmless, they lower their guard. And in that lowering lies their downfall. Weakness, when displayed deliberately, disarms suspicion. A ruler who shows himself always strong invites endless challenge, for rivals seek glory in striking the mighty. But a ruler who can feign limitation or vulnerability draws out arrogance in his enemies. They rush forward, intoxicated with the thought of easy triumph, only to be ensnared in the trap laid for them. To appear less than you are is not defeat. It is strategy. The wolf in sheep's clothing does not reveal his teeth until it is too late. Even genuine weakness can serve as a cloak. The wounds of your past, the scars upon your soul, the struggles you have endured, these can become instruments of power. They allow you to connect with men who share them, to earn loyalty from those who see themselves reflected in your struggles. What once humbled you may become the very thing that elevates you, for men rally not only behind strength, but also behind the story of triumph over suffering. Thus, your weakness, reshaped into narrative, becomes influence. But beware, for the careless display of weakness invites predators. It must never be uncontrolled or genuine in its exposure. You do not bleed before wolves. You only pretend to limp so they approach close enough for you to strike. Weakness must be measured, deliberate, and always directed toward an end. It is not to be embraced as a chain, but to be wielded as bait. This art demands subtlety. Sometimes your weakness must be shown to soften hearts, to make you appear approachable, harmless, even pitiable. At other times, it must be concealed so that none may find the cracks through which to strike. The mastery lies in deciding when to show, when to hide, and when to weaponize. To control your weakness is to prevent it from being used against you, and to use it yourself is to turn the enemy's expectation into his ruin. Understand this: strength alone is blunt and predictable, but weakness in the hands of the cunning is sharp and unexpected. When properly wielded, it becomes the most dangerous blade of all, for it is hidden until the very moment it cuts. Weakness, therefore, is not the opposite of power. It is its secret ally. Men speak often of love as if it were the foundation upon which loyalty is built. Yet love is fickle, fragile, and easily broken by circumstance. A man who loves you today may betray you tomorrow if fear, ambition, or opportunity tempt him away. But fear endures. Fear binds a man even when love fails. It holds his hand still when he wishes to strike. It silences his tongue when he longs to speak. It bends his will when pride urges rebellion. To govern without inspiring fear is to leave your throne exposed to the shifting winds of affection and sentiment. Yet fear alone, if applied crudely, breeds hatred, and hatred is a fire that consumes both ruler and ruled. The art lies in balance. You must inspire fear without provoking despair, severity without cruelty for its own sake. When men respect you, their fear is sharpened into obedience rather than vengeance. They must see you as capable of punishment, but not as a beast who revels in it. To be hated is dangerous, but to be feared and respected together, this is unshakable power. Consider how men view authority. If they believe their ruler merciful, they take liberties, testing the boundaries of leniency until disorder consumes order. But if they know their ruler is unflinching, they act cautiously, guarding their words, their actions, their very thoughts, for fear of consequence. This vigilance is the soil in which stability grows. Order is not born from love, nor from trust, but from the shadow of consequence. You must, therefore, cultivate an image both commanding and implacable. Let your punishments be swift, calculated, and rare, enough to remind men of your strength, but never so constant that they grow accustomed to severity. The sword should not be raised for every insult, but when it is drawn, it must strike decisively. A single memorable act of discipline does more to preserve power than 1,000 soft words of persuasion. Never reveal hesitation in the face of defiance. The moment you appear unsure, men sense weakness, and weakness invites rebellion. Even mercy, when given, must be framed as an act of strength, not indulgence. If you spare a man, let it be known that it is by your will alone, not by his worthiness. In this way, fear is tempered by respect, and respect transforms fear into lasting obedience. Remember this: men do not follow rulers out of love, but out of necessity. They obey the one they cannot afford to disobey. Love may win hearts, but fear secures thrones. Trust is the most precious of currencies in the realm of power, yet it is also the most dangerous. Alliances are forged upon it, friendships are sealed by it, and kingdoms are maintained with it. But trust is also the very rope with which men are hanged, for he who places his faith without calculation becomes vulnerable to betrayal. Understand this well. Betrayal is not an accident, it is a weapon. And like all weapons, it must be used sparingly, for once drawn, it can never be sheathed without consequence. The fool betrays often, for he delights in the thrill of treachery and believes it elevates him above others. But such a man soon finds himself isolated, for none will bind themselves to a serpent that bites indiscriminately. The wise man, however, betrays only once, and at the precise moment when betrayal delivers not only victory, but permanence. One calculated act of treachery can sever the limbs of an enemy, dismantle an alliance, or secure a throne, provided it is timed with precision. Betrayal is most effective when it is unexpected, for its strength lies in shock. To betray one who already suspects you gains nothing, for he has already prepared his defense. But to betray one who feels safest, who believes himself shielded by your loyalty, that is the betrayal that devastates. His guard is down, his resources scattered, and his reliance upon you total. To strike, then, is not merely to wound him, it is to destroy him completely. Yet you must also understand the cost. Once you betray, the memory lingers forever. Men forgive insults, they forgive defeats, but betrayal is rarely forgotten. Thus, if you must betray, let it be done so thoroughly that your enemy has no chance to rise again, and your allies see no alternative but to cling to you more tightly than before. Leave no space for revenge, no possibility of recovery. Treachery half-come, pleaded is more dangerous to the betrayer than to the betrayed. And so, betrayal must be an end, not a habit. Use it as one uses poison, rarely, invisibly, and with certainty of its outcome. For poison that fails leaves the victim alive, enraged, and now aware of your hand. Betrayal, too, must be final. The man you betray should not live long enough to curse your name, nor should his allies retain the strength to avenge him. The one who betrays with calculation, with finality, and with ruthless precision is feared and respected, for others know his strike will not come often, but when it does, it will be fatal. In this way, betrayal is not merely an act of disloyalty, but the sharpest blade in the arsenal of power. Words are daggers that pierce the air, and once released, they can never be recalled. Every syllable spoken reveals a fragment of your mind, a hint of your intentions, a trace of your fears. Most men cannot resist the compulsion to speak, for silence terrifies them. They rush to fill the void with noise, and in their eagerness they expose themselves. The man who learns to master silence, however, gains a weapon sharper than the tongue and heavier than the sword. Silence unsettles. It forces others to question, to doubt, to fill the emptiness with their own anxieties. When you withhold your words, men begin to imagine what you might be thinking, and their imagination often paints you as far more powerful than you are. They project upon you cunning, strength, and secrets you may not even possess. In this way, silence amplifies your presence, for it leaves room for fear to grow in the minds of others. A ruler who speaks too freely reveals not only his plans, but his weaknesses. Promises made in haste bind him unnecessarily, opinions spoken without thought corner him, and idle chatter diminishes his stature. But a ruler who speaks seldom, and only when the moment demands, creates an aura of inevitability around his words. Each phrase becomes weighty, each declaration final, because men know he does not waste his breath on trifles. Silence also compels others to reveal themselves. In conversation, if you resist the urge to fill the pauses, men will rush to bridge the gaps, often saying more than they intended. They will expose their motives, betray their fears, and uncover the threads you may later pull to unravel them. In this way, silence is not merely absent, it is interrogation. You need only hold your tongue, and the truth will walk willingly into your hands. But silence, like fear, must be wielded with precision. Too much of it can breed suspicion. Too little can erode authority. It must be measured, deliberate, and always purposeful. Use it to cloak your intentions, to command attention, and to magnify the effect of your words when you finally choose to speak. The man who commands silence commands the pace of every exchange, for others dance nervously around his stillness. Remember, power is not always gained through action. Often it is secured through restraint. The hand that does not strike at once can strike more effectively later, and the tongue that does not speak immediately speaks with greater force when it finally breaks the silence. To rule is to know when to speak and when to remain silent, and in the mastery of silence lies dominion over the speech of all others. Power belongs not to the one who talks the most, but to the one whose silence makes others tremble.